stupid boy.
Private Frank Pike was born in the spring of 1968 in the snow-covered wastes of Norfolk whilst filming the hottest summer of the war. I hadn't given a thought to the voice of this stupid boy, and I didn't want to either. I was frightened of opening my mouth in the middle of these actors who were to me an awesome gathering of people whom I'd admired for years from afar. However, the moment arrived, almost by accident, for the first deathless line, and out trickled, "I've got the guns, Mr. Mannering."
Here's a rifle, sir.
And that was it. The voice of the poor wretch that was to utter innumerable stupid facts and opinions during the next 6 years, and I'm happy to say is still doing so.
My agent, Anne Callender, sent me to see this man, David Croft, at the BBC, and I went and saw him 3 times.
He was a little older than he should have been. I suppose he should have been sort of almost in his teens. But he looked pretty young.
And then she took me out for lunch and just before and said, amongst other things, she said, "I've got to tell you that David Croft, the man you've seen about Dad's Army, is my husband." And my face must have dropped. She said, "Exactly, that's why we didn't tell you. You got the part because David wanted you. But let me point out, he can always write you out."
Now, young Frank Pike has been with us since the day we were formed.
My father looked at me and said, "What am I going to do with you? You've got to have some qualifications."
How this boy ever got his school certificate, I shall never understand.
I said, "I don't want any qualifications. I'm going to be a famous film star or a comedian." And then he said those words, "You stupid boy."
I said 1 mug of oats to 1 jug of water.
You stupid boy.
Frank Pike was not an idiot.
Lucky you made all that porridge, Frank. Not such a stupid boy after all, am I, Mr. Mannering?
No. Oh, I'm sorry, Pike.
He was naive, he was young, and as repressed as any 17-year-old at that time. I remember being just as penned in as opposed to repressed.
Keep a good lookout over the sea, boy. You're too young for champagne, anyway.
Oh, very nice.
Frank, give over, dear.
You're good at organising collections, Mr. Mannering.
Be quiet, Pike.
Why did you respect the bank manager? You respected your teacher. You respected anybody who was older than you.
You've got to learn comradeship, Pikey boy.
Yeah, I'll have to learn that.
If someone nicks your kit, you make sure you nick somebody else's. Ian Lavender, he was just out of stage school and he was brilliant because, I mean, he's a grown-up lad, a married man, and he'd play this silly sort of teenage boy, and he did it brilliantly, I thought.
He's very good, no, Mannering?
Arthur and I, although I say it myself, were quite good at the slapstick.
Here, you bringing that gravy, or aren't you?
The glasses and the hat was always on between Arthur and I. And Arthur would just bend down, and I would do all that for him underneath there, and he'd come up with the glasses at the right angle and so on. Jimmy Perry did tell me once and several times that Frank Pike was, in fact, him.
Well, it was sort of based on me, 16-year-old boy.
He was the Pike character. You know, when he was a boy, he went into the Home Guard and he was Pike.
When I first joined the Home Guard, I loved guns. Can you imagine a 16-year-old now being entrusted with a Thompson submachine gun?
What game are you playing?
Oh, well, everybody was dressed up, weren't they?
Mr. Mannering, I feel a fool.
Do stop grumbling, Pike.
It wasn't just Pike dressing up. It was always good way of getting a few laughs, of course, by having a short tunic and showing my actually not bad legs at the time.
The vicar was right. He does look sweet in it, doesn't he?
Yes, he enjoyed it. Of course he did. He loved dressing up because he lived film.
You like it? I copied it from a photograph of Edward G. Robinson in Scarface. Oh, it's ever so good, Uncle Arthur. It's like that film, Robin Hood.
Now, look, there's only one way to deal with this. We've got to shadow him.
What, like George Raft?
I think Pike's knowledge of film came from Jimmy Perry.
Oh, yes, I love it.
I like Tyrone Power.
You go to the pictures a lot?
Oh, yeah, quite a lot.
It's been my obsession ever since I was 10, sitting in the Randler Cinema Barnes. And during the war, I used to go every day when I had a couple of hours. I love old movies.
Isn't it wonderful, the way Robert Taylor puts his arm round her? So protective and romantic.
Yeah.
There were bits and pieces that I was asked to put in by Jimmy and David that I sort of balked at. One was sucking the thumb.
Take your thumb out of your mouth.
Hang on a minute. Hang on. He's 18 now. He's 19. Sucking his thumb. But I did it.
You ought to have somebody look at that boy, you know.
And I like to think that he grew up through those years and began to get quite spiky with Captain Mannering at times. And to answer back...
Mr. Mannering, you look even more suspicious now.
The innocence was still there.
Why aren't you a proper soldier?
I got funny blood. Not one in a million like me.
Pike has a very immature, twitchy attitude to young women.
Let's find an haystack and spend the night beneath the stars in each other's arms.
Get off!
Get out and push, then.
Push, it's 9 miles.
But the car breaks down and we spend the night out.
Do you mean to say you've been out all night with her in this car? You'll have to marry her.
Oh, are you out? I'm not marrying a soppy boy like him.
You've been out all night with him, soppy boy or no soppy boy.
Stop calling me a sloppy boy.
Oh, everybody's got the wrong idea, of course, and I don't even know what idea that is, quite honestly.
I know we shouldn't have taken it, but we didn't do the car no harm.
Yes, well, I'm not talking about the car. I'm talking about the girl.
That scene between John Lemessurier and I in the back seat of the car, the last scene of that episode, now that was one where David and Jimmy came with a set of rewrites. Got a new scene for you.
A lot of people will know that you spent the night together, and a lot of people will tell you that what you did was wrong.
I was pushing, she was steering.
Yes, well, of course.
John Lemessurier was trying to tell him sort of apologise for the fact he never talked about the facts of life, as it were.
But to my way of thinking, what you both did wasn't evil. Do you follow me?
It was 9 miles.
We just looked at that scene, ran it through a couple of times for words, and did it. And it was a joy. This total miscomprehension of what Uncle Arthur was talking about. It was a delightful scene.
Now I feel we're sort of, you know what I mean, kindred spirits, sort of, you know, sort of men of the world.
One never quite knew where Pike came from, as it were, with regard to the relationship between Mrs. Pike and Sergeant Wilson.
It's never actually said. It's never dragged out into the open, but with little glances and winks and nudges.
I know Pike pretty well.
And he knows his mother pretty well, too.
You get an awareness of the fact that he is probably Pike's father.
As far as I recollect, the family arrived in Warmington-on-Sea from Weston-super-Mare.
I hope you don't mind me bringing Frank, but we don't like to leave him on his own when there's a war on. Do we, Arthur?
Well, I don't know, yeah.
I think probably Sergeant Wilson was still married, you know. We never actually said whether he's divorced, did we?
Mr. Frank Pike, of course, as he got older and suspected that he was actually staying the night, and then became open that he was staying the night, but he's not going to question it.
You never leave our house until after I've gone to bed. And then you're back early for breakfast in the morning before I'm awake.
Well, you know, Frank, I always come round to your house for meals because your mother has my ration book.
Yeah, well, what I can't understand is I never hear you leave and I never hear you come back in the morning.
Well, you see, I let myself in and out very quietly.
You never do anything else quietly.
I never had any doubt about Pike's paternity. He was his son, as far as I was concerned. But, of course, we didn't write it as blatantly as that. We always kept people in doubt.
What that boy needs is the firm hand of a father.
Yes, I quite agree, sir. I wish I could find somebody.
Arthur was certainly something of a father figure to me. He did actually say, look, don't worry about not having a lot to say. That'll come. He said, in the meantime, he said, get yourself a funny costume and stand near me.
You mean to go on, eh?
That's right.
Yeah, I'll remember that.
Good lad.
Which was quite nice, really.
How many times have I told you not to wear that scarf on parade?
Yeah, well, Mum made me put it on, you see. She said if we were going to be sleeping out all night, she didn't want me to catch a cold.
If he goes without his scarf, he gets croup, and then I'm up all night.
Now, the hat's interesting. The forage cap. Worn straight on and pulled right down to there. David came and said, you pull the hat right down. He said, but pull it down straight. He said, that's just funny. Look at it. Which is funny?
You've always been a very loyal member of this platoon, and we shall always remember you.
Ian was, I suppose, perhaps a bit overawed working with these great actors, but by the time I came to the series, he was well and truly part of the team.
All the other characters were equally lovely to me as this young, wet behind the ears, inexperienced actor. I was particularly close with John Laurie. The oldest and the youngest, I drove him around, I spent time with him, just listened to him. If I have anything to thank all of them for, John Laurie, John Lemage, and Arthur in particular, is teaching me, a young tyro, not to be afraid of who you're working with.
He grew. Of all the actors, actually, he becomes more significant, more assured, and more important as the series progresses over its 9 years.
Any sign of anything?
No, it's been ever so quiet.
Where's Corporal Jones?
Where he should be on his wedding night. With his bride.
I was very lucky. I had a 10-year summer school.
You stupid boy.
Up to tricks. You know what they have done? They dropped a few Cascada bombs on Germany for fun. And now they've put the word around that Hitler's on the run.